Joe Biden's got his infrastructure bill, and now we've got a potential fight brewing over the only $2 and change trillion infrastructure bill. Even that might be too much for some people, and some people is always Joe Manchin. Not only, like, bear in mind, he said they should ask for more before, but now that the $2.2 trillion one is out, he apparently has an issue with how they're gonna pay for it. He warned earlier this week the Biden administration's massive infrastructure package can't pass in its current form because he and a handful of other Senate Democrats, even more cowardly than he, since they're not identifying themselves, believe the corporate tax hikes proposed in the bill designed to offset its costs are too steep. And he said, if I don't vote to get on it, it's not going anywhere. So we're going to have some leverage here, and it's more than just me. There are 6 or 7 other Democrats who feel very strongly about this. We have to be competitive, and we're not going to throw caution to the wind. He says he's against raising the current 21% corporate tax rate, which was put in place by the 2017 tax overhaul under the Trump administration, to 28% as called for in the bill, and instead supports a middle ground 25% rate, which he called fair, notably without defining what fair is supposed to mean, when most of these corporations have been paying effectively no taxes for so long, when their taxes up until just a few years ago were at least on paper significantly higher than 21 or 25 or even 28%, they would still be better off than they were just pre-Trump. And even raising it halfway back from what Trump cut it, that's unfair, JR.
That's unfair. Now think about this. So I listened to a lot of that interview he had with the West Virginia radio or source. I'm sorry if I'm blanking on who they were, but he goes through a bunch of different peaks and valleys for this argument. So at one point he did point out that Trump's tax cut in 2017 screwed over many Americans, and we have to recoup that back. And look what they've done with corporations. And it was a pulling the wool over people's eyes. Like they thought this was something for the middle class, but actually turned into something big for the richest. He said all that stuff and said that should have never been that way in the first place. But his remedy is not to fully go back and actually tax the folks that got these huge deals. So why bring up the fact that we had those issues with the tax plan, but you don't want to do enough to remedy it? What does that say about your position? It says you don't really believe in that position, that we shouldn't have ever gone that way in the first place. Because you don't want to go fully back against what we did and remedy the problem. You're halfway okay with it, aren't you?
So since you watched more of the interview, I actually have a question for you. So did he actually address that if he's saying he's theoretically okay with the $2.2 trillion, and in the past, like 2 weeks ago, was saying it should be higher, 3 or 4 trillion, and he doesn't want the corporate tax to go up, what is his answer? Is it higher taxes on individuals? Is it cutting the bill? Is it what? Is it not paying for it? What is his suggestion?
He didn't have to because he wasn't asked that.
Why should he?
Specifically, so then what do we do about this? If you support the bill, then where does it come from? Because if you have to answer that question, it'll look bad for you. Because if it's not coming from the folks who haven't been paying taxes and have been benefiting the most from not paying taxes, because we'll talk about people who effectively pays 0% in taxes when they make $15,000 in a year. I don't care. They made $15,000 in a year. Why are we concerned about whether or not they paid 0 in taxes? Because in reality, they actually paid in taxes because we pay taxes every day on everything. Yeah. So if you're worried about people that make 15K a year not paying taxes, but you're not concerned about the corporation that made hundreds of billions of dollars and not paying taxes, I'm not sure who you've been convinced by is the real problem in America. Because if you collect the tax from the 15,000 person, it's not changing much. It's not funding anything that we need. It's not helping the country. But you're okay with us allowing corporations to avoid paying taxes. And that's your solution to it. Because again, if Manchin had to answer the question, it would be like, oh, of course, it's gonna fall down on everyone else. We gotta raise taxes on things like gas. We gotta, all those taxes that people do on an everyday basis, which of course goes and gets those 15,000 earners, or even the 40 or 30, 40, 50,000 earners, which still isn't enough. So if we're worried about them, or we're not worried about them, but we're worried about the corporations that have avoided this situation, I mean, we have to start all over with where we think our priorities lie with how these things work.
Sure. Yeah, and he's senator for West Virginia. Like his constituents are like, I won't stand for the corporate tax rate going to 28%. It doesn't make any sense. All the Republicans who are gonna like fight to keep corporate taxes as low as possible, pretending that they're populist. What is that word supposed to mean? Honestly, Why is it never reflected in any policy? It's weird. We keep using it as if it exists, but I've never seen it in DC. Anyway, let's play a brief game. It's a game we occasionally play called Dumb or Stupid, or Dumb or Lying, I guess we'll say Dumb or Lying. When he says this, we have to have our Republican friends work with us too. They just can't be against everything, thinking this is going to be political posturing we're going to take for the 2022 elections. Well, okay, look, if you don't actually believe that, and you're just saying that, but then you're gonna actually support the bill, okay, it's good as cover, I guess. But they definitely are gonna use that as their stance going into 2022, or a hybrid of it, where they do vote against everything, but then pretend in ads that they voted in support of this stuff. No, they're not. They don't want to work with you, and they're not your friends. Or if they are your friends, Joe Manchin, they're certainly not our friends. I hate that he has as much power as he does.
So he's got friends in the Republican Party that needs to work with us, and they can't completely continue to oppose us like they have. He could have made that same statement in 2010. So it's the same statement. So then therefore, I'm sorry, 2008. So then in 2010, when the midterms come, we have to make sure that we can't make it seem like we're just posturing for the midterms. Every cycle is the same thing over and over and over again. The Republicans can't possibly be this anti-American, can they? No, but the Republicans can't be this anti-American, can they? But after this, they can't be this. Yes, they can, and they continue to be. And you continue to somehow be shocked by how they are, but they can't possibly be every time. Number two, he pointed out his leverage, because after pointing out his leverage against Democrats, his party, pointing out his leverage against Democrats to change things. But if you have leverage against the Democrats, but you need your friends in the Republican Party to help you out, where's the leverage to get them to move over? Your leverage is you're leaning on Democrats, but you're not leaning on Republicans. You're hoping to please Republicans long enough with your leaning on Democrats and show them your leverage and hoping they'll go your way. That doesn't make any sense. How does that work? Let me lean on the folks that I'm supposed to be working with and do nothing for the folks who are openly opposing everything that will help Americans. How does that get anything done? And you notice after he points out his leverage, because you know how bad that sounds, he's like, oh, and there's seven or eight other of us that are also, they agree with me. They're all in the same boat. Are they? Or is it just you pushing your leverage and pointing out how you want to be this most powerful person in the country, which he's also denied when someone asked him? Do you enjoy being the kingsmaker in America? No. I'm just a small town guy from West Virginia. I'm just Joe. I'm just Joe, and I go back home and I talk to my constituents, and they say, yeah, screw us over, Joe.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.